Welcome to At Home with Peggy. Last time we showed you this wonderful shower under construction. Well, it's completed now, to my satisfaction. And this wonderful beaded curtain certainly catches the light and gives a wonderful, interesting effect to get into the shower. Now there is a traditional shower curtain with the shower bar up here, and you can close it off during the shower, but you can open it again, which lets all the light from the wonderful window into the bathroom. Now there's some amenities in here that you may not find in every bathroom, and that's what makes it so special. Directly above me is a vent that has both a light and a night light in it. But in addition to that, if you are in the mood, you can turn on the heated fan and come out of the shower to have wonderful warm air blowing on you. Now, if that luxury is not quite enough, behind me here, I have a heated towel bar that you can turn on before you get in the shower, and hot oil circulates through the tubes and warms the towel so that when you step out, not only do you have lovely warm air blowing on you, but you wrap up in a nice toasty towel. Now in the shower itself, there are a couple of interesting things I would like to show you that make it just that much more luxurious. Now the reason we went for such an outrageous shower is, I have to say, a hot tub was appealing, but you use a shower every single day, and we have thoroughly enjoyed it since it's been done. You can see that there's a bench in the corner, which is great if you want to sit down, shave your legs, or anything else that suits your fancy. And also, please note that there are two separate shower heads, one with a long hose, which I have to say was really put in primarily so that I could hose off the dogs if I had to, and they come and go through here without the same problems of having to lift them into a bathtub. But both shower heads are plumbed separately, so if two people happen to be in the shower, they can have the water temperature exactly the way they like it. Also, corner shelves were installed so you have a place to put all the paraphernalia that you can't live without while you're in the shower. The window is lovely, and I have to say that when you get up in the morning and the light's streaming through and you take a shower in this wonderful, huge, luxurious shower, it's a wonderful way to start the day and take on the rest of the challenges here at Blooming Acres. New Jersey has long had a history of agriculture, and that is why we are the Garden State. However, far too many people just don't realize how vital our industry is and the energy and enthusiasm and hard work that continues to allow us to be the Garden State. There was a time when everyone had a cousin or a relative on the farm, and that's not always the case these days. And as development continues throughout the state of New Jersey, farmers have to change their farming practices in order to meet the needs of their surrounding community. We have with us the Von Tunes, Bob and Cindy, who have done just that so well that they have won the National Outstanding Young Farmer Award. That is a huge recognition of their efforts. Remember, they are competing with farmers from all over the country, and 4 farmers are awarded this prize every year. And we are thrilled to have them with us today. Their farm is in South Brunswick, and it has been here for many years. I am so proud of you guys. You have worked so hard. Congratulations.
Thank you, Peggy.
So what have you done to deserve this award?
Well, we started a farm market in 1986, and so we thought we were just making an honest living and farming the fields, and we started a farm market, and it's just kind of grown from there.
And what exactly in all of your endeavors has allowed you the recognition nationwide here?
Well, we made a lot of changes here, going from commercial potato farming into retail farming and entertainment farming, where we deal a lot with the general public.
Well, I know that you said that you started the farm market in 1986. If I remember correctly, those were some pretty bad years for potatoes.
Yeah, very bad. Last 2-3 years that we raised potatoes, we virtually made no money at all.
Kind of hard to support a family on that, wouldn't you say?
A little.
And so, but one farm market, which is what you started with in 1986, has grown and grown and grown. Look at this greenhouse we're in. That was not, when did you start the greenhouses?
1990 we put up the first one.
And so you went from producing how many acres of potatoes?
I guess it was around 50, 60 acres of potatoes with some small grains and soybeans to all vegetables and flowers right now.
And you did that, it took you, what, about 15 years to get to this point?
About that.
And you take care of most of the greenhouses, isn't that true?
Well, not as much recently as I'd like to, but I try to be out here as much as I can.
Now this is really a joint effort. You both received the award, is that correct?
Yeah, it's very much a team effort.
And in addition to both of you working on the farm and raising kids and having all these animals, you work full time with, and why I think everyone would be interested in hearing how everything's connected, even your job.
I teach agriculture at the local vocational school in Piscataway.
So everything you do has an agricultural base, is that right?
That's pretty much part of it.
How many different kinds of flowers are in, say, just this greenhouse?
There's probably different types of flowers, probably 25 or 30.
And how many greenhouses do you have?
Well, this is actually 5 bays to this greenhouse, which I guess technically you could say it's 5 connected greenhouses, and there's 4 other greenhouses.
And you started out in potatoes. That's amazing. And how many generations has this farm been here, Bob?
I'm the 4th generation farmer here. We moved here in 1913, my great-grandfather.
And at that time, did the neighborhood look anything like this?
No, not quite. Very much different. It was just farm after farm, basically.
And what's the closest farm here now? I bet it's not around the corner, right?
Now, the closest farm, well, Giamarese's isn't that far away.
Ah, another National Outstanding Young Farmer winner, yes.
And Pleasant Hill Farms up the road here.
So the entire neighborhood has changed dramatically, and you have changed with it. But I know you have animals here, and you do events throughout the year. What are some of the events that you do?
We started last year doing an Easter egg hunt, which usually goes sometime in April. Then day before Mother's Day, we have Kids' Day at the farm. And then in October, we have our Fall Festival.
So it's greenhouses, animals, bringing the public in, fruits and vegetables, and you have just amazed me with how diversified you came from growing a few field crops to growing numerous vegetables, flowers, greenhouse crops, events, animals. No wonder you won the Outstanding Young Farmer Award. Thanks for joining us. We're going to scoot over to see Sue and Jim, who won this same award about 12 years ago. And I am just thrilled to have been any tiny, tiny part of this, and keep up the good work. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you, Peggy.
I do find it fascinating that in Middlesex County, New Jersey, with a population of over 700,000, we can boast of having had 2 outstanding young farmers win on a national level. The first winner preceded the Von Thuns by, about 10 years or so, and it's Giamarese Farms in East Brunswick. Sue and Jim farm here as a couple, and they work hand in hand, struggling, farming, digging, planting, and entertaining. And they won. What year exactly was it that you guys won that award, Jim?
1989.
That was a good year.
It was better than 88. 88 was a drought. 89 was a much better year.
So what criteria did you win on back then?
I think it was the bathing suit competition. Actually, it was soil and water conservation, community involvement. I mean, at that time I was involved with a lot of different groups, Vegetable Growers, Farm Bureau, church groups, civic groups, and soil and water conservation, and that was about it.
And you do work as a team. What is your major contribution here, Sue?
Nagging? No. No, I think...
Did you get a separate award for that?
No, I was a champ. No, I think keeping... I want to say he's always got a lot of ideas, so it's kind of keeping it reined in, sort of, and keeping it realistic rather than him flying off on all his different ideas.
But some of those ideas have panned out over the years, too.
Yeah, but they usually create a lot of extra work, and you have to be willing to realize what work is involved with them rather than just thinking big idea, what's involved with putting it into action. Usually I'm kind of the action person.
So since 1989, there have been some changes here. What are some of the things that you've added since then?
Fruit trees, Christmas trees, which extends our season and gives us obviously more stuff to sell. And we kind of switched away from more ethnic crops or vegetables just to more traditional. We're a little more entertainment. I shouldn't say entertainment, but relaxation type farming where people come out and pick on the weekends, you know, fruit, and not so much people don't can like they used to back 10 years ago. They used to pick a lot of plum tomatoes or string beans and freeze them. Nowadays it's a little more recreational.
So when you say recreational, the families like to come out and walk around and maybe pick pumpkins and hay rides, that sort of thing?
People want a day out. They want a day at the farm. They want to get out of the offices and out of the schools, and they want to go outside and be somewhere where they can run around and enjoy themselves and pick their fruit that they're going to take home for the week. And it used to be that people would come out and pick their own and then go home and can it and put it in the freezer, and that's not the market anymore. The market seems to be more of people enjoyment kind of thing.
Well, for them to have the pleasure of that enjoyment, I have seen a new farm stand, new greenhouses. So it seems to me like you guys are constantly being innovative and working and creative. So the talent and skill that made you the National Young Farmer Award 10 years ago still is keeping your farm thriving and beautiful and constantly changing. And I have to say, while entertainment is a really good word, I think it's a lot more important that people come out and realize that the back room of the supermarket is not where fruits and vegetables come from. Yeah. And having the opportunity to come out here and see this firsthand has really created a background of information that people don't get anymore. It used to be that everyone had a grandmother, grandfather, aunt or uncle where they could go visit the farm. Now they come see you. And
he does a great educational tour pumpkin time. He does. The kids love him.
Well, thanks for letting us join you today, and I'm sure that this has added to the education of the public to remember that farming is why we are the Garden State here in New Jersey, and once again we can boast in Middlesex County with 700,000 people, we have 2 national Outstanding Young Farmer Award winners. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The real estate business is booming in New Jersey right now, and people are looking to buy their first home or maybe a new home, an upgrade. And with that comes the process of getting a mortgage. It can be a harrowing experience, and understanding the ins and outs of the finance world can be very complicated. Most people get a 30-year mortgage. That's not the only option, though, and perhaps there are alternatives that are more wise from a financial perspective. I have with me today Beverly from First Union, who's a mortgage specialist. And Beverly, are you going to help us straighten out some of this confusion?
I'll try to.
Well, I know most people do have a 30-year mortgage, and can you explain a little bit about how that works? There's a principal component, there's an interest component. How does that work? If someone had a 30-year mortgage, for example, what would one be paying on, say, $100,000?
On a $100,000 mortgage, they would pay principal and interest for the full 30-year period. A 30-year mortgage means you just pay it over 30 years. And the interest and principal payment for 30 years would be $665 a month for the full 30 years.
So that would be part of that's principal and part of that's interest.
Yes, and at the beginning of the payment, most of its interest is only as you get toward the end of the payment period, like at the end of the 30 years, that you begin to pay mostly principal at that point.
So if you were to start out, now here we have something called an amortization schedule that lays that out. Now this one's also for $100,000, and this one's at 6 5/8. But you would be paying, your first payment on $100,000 would be only $88.23 principal and $552 interest. Ouch.
That's true.
That hurts. Okay, but what if you wanted to pay a little extra? What if you wanted to, let's say you were feeling really flush one month and you wanted to put a little bit of extra money. How much could you save?
Any money that you prepay always saves you money over the period, over the lifetime of the loan. And I drew up kind of a schedule that shows if you made just a $5 a month payment.
One out to lunch, maybe.
Not even, unless it was
a good lunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over the life of the loan, you would save $4,160.
So just $5 every month.
$5 every month.
Extra in there.
Right.
Okay.
And I did it for several.
So what about 50? Let's say you're feeling really good that month.
If you did 50, you would save $31,662. It's a lot of money to
so only
save.
$50 extra every
That's
month
right.
would save that much
And
money.
instead of paying the mortgage for 30 years, you would only pay the mortgage for 24
So
years.
you'd knock 6 years off. So if you're able to pay it 6 years early, that last 6 years you could be saving for something else, like maybe college
Well,
or
it's just paid off.
retirement, or put that money to something else instead of your mortgage. Okay, and $100, if you paid $100 extra every month, how much would you save?
$50,507.
Okay, that sounds pretty worthwhile to me. Now there's another way of doing it too, and I know that this is a little bit more complex, but if you followed the numbers on your amortization schedule and you had your first payment where you paid $88.23 in interest, if you paid the interest of the second one at the same time, which would be in this case $88.71, you would skip, never have to pay that $551.60 interest payment. And the advantage to that, and this is what I do, is that if you follow the schedule, you will always know exactly how much you owe. And that is a distinct advantage for me. I like to know exactly where my finances
Absolutely.
are. So I think that that's really a handy thing. So you would have an amortization schedule, you'd make your regular payment, and you drop down one more line and pay an extra principal payment. Now, if you were able to do that every single month, pay the next payment, you could cut your mortgage time in half.
Turn a 30-year mortgage into a 15-year mortgage.
Now that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. But then, of course, if you've got the 30-year mortgage and 1 month you don't have the extra money, you don't have to pay it. And then you just continue to pay your regular monthly payment every month. But that's something people really need to consider, I think. You cut a 30-year mortgage in half if you get a 15-year mortgage right up front. But the tricky thing is, you don't pay double now, do you?
No, no, you don't. For a 30-year mortgage, you would pay $100,000 at 7%. You would pay $665 a month. For a 15-year mortgage at 7%, on $100,000, you would pay $899. So the payment isn't double what it would be for a 30-year mortgage at all. The difference ultimately comes down to the interest that you pay. And with a 15-year mortgage, you're paying less interest over the life of the loan.
So in the course of the year, of the 15 years versus 30 years, you could save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
So that
$50,000.
Wow. So maybe that's worth taking into consideration. Now, mortgage rates are very low at the moment, relatively speaking, right? I mean, is that correct? I mean, we're
Yes.
trying to boost the economy,
Yes.
so someone keeps lowering interest rates. So if you were considering at this point trying to go maybe refinance and take advantage of this, with the lower interest rate and the fact that you're not paying that much more to begin with, you could possibly go from a 30-year mortgage to a 15-year mortgage for just a little bit of an increase every month.
That's right.
So it's worth investigating, at least
Absolutely.
thinking about. So are people getting a lot of mortgages right now?
We're in a refinance
Mode
at this point in time, right?
So a lot of people may be considering these facts right now as
Absolutely.
we speak. Now, can they contact you to ask you questions if
I
they
would
need to?
love it if they would.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us. And we are at home, and I know I've got a mortgage, so at home with Peggy, I'm going to try to pay mine off. When one thinks of spring, all kinds of flowers come to mind. You think of the delicate little crocus and the very happy little daffodil, and of course those are followed not too far behind with the very elegant tulip. But in my mind, it just would not be spring without the very happy, smiling, and utterly dependable pansy. Now, if you can see here, I have created a ribbon of pansies to celebrate the fact that I finally, after 3 years, got the wooden edges in. They sat in a pile for quite a while, and I'm thrilled that this spring I was able to install them. And in order to draw attention to that and make a very lovely blast of color in the early spring garden. Over 300 pansies have been planted here in a irregular winding pattern. Now if you look at these pansies, you'll see that they are in a lot of shades of pink. This particular pansy is called Antique, and one flat was given to me by a friend, and I could not resist. I went back and got 6 more. They are in all different shades, up to this deep kind of rosy red to a very, very pale, just a hint of pink, and all shades of pink in between. Now, pansies are one of the earliest flowers you can plant out in your garden. What one cannot do is expect them to last through the heat of summer. Pansies are extremely cold tolerant, but will not thrive under 90-degree July and August weather. The best way to maintain them, to get as much life out of them as possible, is to continually remove the flowers as they fade. During the spring, the plants will grow together and will become a solid mat. But if you don't remove the dead flowers, they will make seeds, and then the plants will get weak and straggly. What most people don't know, though, is that while these can be planted in late March, early April, and give you color right up until the really hot weather of the summer, the best thing you can do is plant them in October. Now you can see here we have some lovely yellow and purple pansies that were actually planted in October. They are spectacular, will bloom longer, bloom earlier, and give you even 2 seasons for the price of 1 flower. So enjoy your pansies, appreciate them because they are a whole lot tougher than people expect, and each one has its own smiling little face. We have lots more to show you this time at Home with Peggy, so stay with us. I would like to think that every little girl's dream room would look something like the way our daughter Kira's room turned out. Of course, by the time she becomes a teenager, she may have a different idea. But when she arrived here at 3 years old, we really wanted to have something that I would imagine as a magical room for her to live in. Now, we bought her bedroom set very inexpensively because it was in really bad shape. It actually belonged to a wonderful, lovely couple who were in their 90s, and when they married, this was their bedroom set. They used it for 30 years, but the next 30 years it was stored in the attic. When it was brought out of storage when we purchased it, unfortunately the change in humidity created a lot of problems with the veneer, and we could not salvage it in its original state. So we chose to paint it. It took 5 coats of white paint to cover the wood, and then we did the trim painted in pink all by hand. It came out very nicely, but the final touch was the lovely green knobs that we added to the dresser, which really give it just an extra little zing. After that, decorating the room was, of course, a challenge. We wanted it to be lovely and still functional. The walls are painted white with a very high quality scrubbable white paint, which certainly can come in handy with a small child. Kira is now about 7 years old, and we have still been putting the finishing touches on her room. We have taken the sheets, which we bought 3 sets of, matching sheets, and took the top sheet and made the curtains out of it. Now, we didn't want to block the window because, as you can see out the window, there's a lovely view and there's nothing out there. It faces south, so this is a bright, cheerful, sunny room. We took the pillowcases and used them for decorative pillows on top of the bed, but it was the bottom sheet, the spare bottom sheet from the 3rd set, that was the most magical of all. All of the flowers were cut out individually with a very sharp pair of scissors. We used them to make the beautiful arch over the bed. Those are individually glued on flowers in fabric where you use Elmer's glue to attach them to the wall. We decorated the wall sort of randomly, putting in the key flowers first and then filling in with the rest of the flowers to make the arch. It really came out quite beautiful and was really very easy to do. It does take persistence, and you have to be patient cutting out the flowers, but attaching them to the wall is much easier than you will think. I'm going to show you that with the last 2 sprays on the wall opposite the bed that put the finishing touches on a magical little girl's room. I have here all of the basic tools I need to begin applying the flowers to the wall. I like to start with the largest flowers first and space them on, so that sort of gives you a shape to work with. Now I have, you can see it's white on white, so it's a little difficult, but there's Elmer's glue in there, and that's very effective as a fabric glue, and it dries clear. So if you're just a little bit sloppy around the edges, no one will ever know, which is very handy. Now I have some aluminum foil here, which is a great surface for applying the glue, and a number of large flowers to begin laying out the design. Now I have a nice brushes don't really matter. Any old brush that you have, you're not going to want to use it a whole lot after you've been using it on glue, although the glue is water soluble, and if you wash the brush right away, it does come out. Now it's good to have the flowers and the fabric fairly flat. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be ironed to a crisp, but you don't want to have any major folds or wrinkles in it because that may show up. But the glue itself in the wetting process does take out most of the minor little bends and folds. So you want to apply the glue with some gusto. Most importantly, you want to make sure that it gets on the edges, because the edges are the first thing that will be likely to pop up. Apply it liberally. Again, making sure, better to have a little too much than not enough, because it will ooze out the sides. Now I've made a mark on the wall where I want to get started, and that's probably the most important and maybe even the only mark you'll have to make, because you will build it from that point. Now let's see, put this right up there. Once you apply it to the wall, you want to make sure that you get it nice and smooth. This is your opportunity to get any wrinkles out that may have still been in the fabric. It will smooth out. You also can notice that any little bits of white that may have still been in are all but disappear into the wall, which is again very, very convenient. And another reason why it's important to make sure that you pick the background color of your fabric to match the color of your wall. Now again, we're trying to make a spray of flowers in this location. There's going to be a matching spray on the other side, which I'll show you is already complete. And I want to flank a dollhouse, a Barbie dollhouse that my daughter loves, and one of these will be on either side of the dollhouse. So it has to come fairly close to matching the other one. Now again, it's important that we put the largest flowers in first. So this one is also pretty big, and we're going to build up. So let's see where we'll put some glue on this one. We don't want it to be too far out, too wide, too tall. Remember, it's always easier to add another flower than to take one off. So better to be conservative in your placement and build out later than to make the entire display too big early on. So we're going to be fairly cautious with this. After you get the largest flowers on, you can begin to select and fill in with the smaller flowers. The more you have cut in advance. Now see, I don't want to have this one. You can see this is actually the same flower, but if you arrange it differently, it begins to look distinctly different. So we're going to put this one right here. Now I'm going to continue to add flowers, leaves, fronds, all kinds of things. And with a little luck, I'll come very close to matching the one on the other side. This is a fun project and not particularly expensive, doesn't require a whole lot of skill, just your imagination. And I do want to show you that this little table I have right here is the beginning of another similar project. I found this poor little table on the side of the road. There isn't much to it. In fact, it's pretty ugly. But by the time you see it next, it's going to be painted white. These little lines are going to be painted pink to match the rest of the furniture in the room, and I'm going to cover the front with more flowers. So, somebody else's trash is going to be our treasure. We'll see you next time here at Home with Peggy.